Hey Nintendo fans and collectors, Lithium here from my channel Nintendo Collecting, bringing you collecting tip number 92, Know Your Stuff. As a collector, I am frequently asked questions about games, controllers, consoles, anything to do with collecting, especially Nintendo, and I really need to know my own limitations. I need to know my stuff to have accurate information to answer those questions correctly, and to really just benefit myself when I'm collecting to make sure I'm getting a good deal. What I would ask you to do is kind of evaluate your own situation, evaluate your own knowledge, maybe go back to that previous collecting tip I've done and do your research, because it might really be required for you to kind of brush up on some stuff. If you don't know your stuff, you could obviously run into some problems, overpay for an item, or you might just be answering people's questions and give them false information, which you never want to do. In terms of myself, I know that I am very good at Nintendo. Obviously, I'm a Nintendo collector, so when people ask me questions about the Sega Genesis, which I did grow up with, I don't know everything about collecting for the Sega Genesis, or, for example, the Sega Dreamcast, or anything PlayStation or Xbox. So when I get questions about those consoles, I usually direct them to someone else that I know can answer those. I don't claim to know everything about every item in the collecting world, even for Nintendo, but I definitely don't know my stuff about the Sega Genesis or most Sega consoles. PlayStation and Xbox, that's not my forte. So really make sure you know your stuff so that you know what you're talking about and you're not really answering questions or buying items and you're simply not in the know. What I am really good at, I can say, is the console variations and the controller variations for the various Nintendo consoles, especially the home consoles. If it's the GameCube variation controllers or N64 controllers, the Wii ones are quite simple, there's not that many. All the variations of the Nintendo 64 console and GameCube console I know very well. There aren't that many with the Nintendo Entertainment System, so those are relatively easy to do. Same with the Super Nintendo. And right now there's only 2 different Wii U's out, maybe a third if you consider that Zelda gamepad a unique item. So in terms of Nintendo home console variations, I am very knowledgeable. I know all of them, I believe. I could list them for you. But if you ask me about the handheld consoles and all the variations, there are so many more handheld variations out there that I just don't know about. That's not my forte. So when people ask, I just say, you know, I'm not very informed about this, but here's my opinion if you do want it, or go to here for more information. I don't want to be leading people in the wrong avenue. In terms of video games, actual games, one of my strengths is definitely, again, Nintendo home consoles. So whether it be the Super Nintendo, the N64, the GameCube, or the Wii, I think I can name you probably the rare games on each of those consoles, relatively accurately how rare each of them are and what the price is of those games. And the Nintendo 64 is only 296 games, so it's really easy to have a list of what games are rare and what games you think you should pay a certain price for. The GameCube, I would say, has maybe 100 desirable games to me, so that list is pretty short. The Super Nintendo may be a little bit longer, and the Wii is probably around 100 games as well. Muramasa, amazing game if you haven't checked this out, you definitely should. Where my little flaw I do have, I think, with Nintendo is the Nintendo Entertainment System home console games. I'm not really that familiar with all the rare games. I know that there's Snow Brothers and Bath Bubble Babes, and a few of those are really rare, including the Nintendo World Championship Kart. But if you ask me any random game, what's the price, is it rare, I couldn't really tell you. That is a hole in my knowledge, a flaw in what I know, that I really need to do more research. So I need to know my stuff more with that. I'm sure I need to self-evaluate and do a bit more research in that regard, just to be a bit of a better collector. So make sure when you're out there collecting, you know your stuff, you know exactly what you're talking about, especially when people are asking you questions, and don't extend your knowledge too much. Don't claim to have knowledge of Sega or PlayStation or Xbox if you don't have it. Refer someone to more of a informed decision through another avenue from another person. Thank you for watching collecting tip number 92. Make sure you fill that like bucket, follow me on Facebook and on Twitter, and subscribe to my channel. And remember, as always, game on.